Kenya's candidate to the World Trade Organization's top post. Ambassador Amina Mohamed says the organization is in urgent need of reform. She is battling it out with another 7 nominees, including 2 from Africa, in a race that should end early next month. She serves as Kenya's Minister of Sports and Culture and has previously served as Kenya's Foreign Affairs and Trade Minister, Ambassador to the WTO, and the first woman to chair the WTO's General Council. And Ambassador Amina Mohamed now joins us live via Skype for a further conversation on this. Ambassador, thank you very much for joining us tonight. Your experiences make you a unique favorite for the top job at the World Trade Organization. Do you see it that way? And what do you bring to this organization?
Well, I think that first, thank you very, very much for having me. But I believe very strongly that my professional life prepared me for this post. As you know, I was ambassador to Geneva, and while there, I served as chairman of different bodies of the WTO, including the Trade Policy Review Body, the Dispute Settlement Body, and the General Council. So all in all, about 25 years of my professional life was focused on multilateral trade. After I became Minister for Foreign Affairs and International Trade, I was privileged to host the 10th Ministerial Conference of the WTO here in Nairobi, where we were actually able to make amazing achievements that had not been made before. The agreement on the prohibition of export subsidies is one such agreement that we adopted here in Nairobi. The other one was the expanded IT agreement, the information technology agreement. Getting both of them done required a lot of political work with the trade ministers, with ambassadors, with the secretariat in Geneva. And I think that really is what sets me apart. Having been able to work at the technical level as ambassador in Geneva, but before that as a delegate, but also at the ministerial level, where I was privileged to get amazing results at a very successful ministerial meeting that I chaired. I think that those two things really set me apart. I have had a political career now that spans over 7 years. I became Minister for Foreign Affairs and International Trade in 2013, and I've been minister in President Uhuru Kenyatta's cabinet since then. So I haven't actually stopped being a political leader in my country.
So this is the second time now you're going through this process after losing out to the current Director-General back in 2013. 7 years later, is there a difference between Ambassador Mohamed of 2013 and Ambassador Mohamed today?
I think the main difference is that I have now acquired extensive political experience, which is needed to be a successful Director General. As I said, I served as Kenya's Minister for Foreign Affairs and International Trade for several years. In this capacity, I chaired the ministerial in Nairobi, during which I worked with WTO members and delivered historic agreements that I mentioned before. But the most important one was one that had been negotiated over 15 years. And there had been no breakthrough. But working with ministers and with leaders of countries who were actually able to broker that agreement, the one on the prohibition of export subsidies. Now, what it did is that it leveled the playing field and allowed farmers from developing countries and even from some LDCs to be able to sell their products in their own market, but also have access to other markets because the export subsidies that had distorted trade in agriculture had been removed. Updating the information technology agreement, immediately it was adopted, injected trillions of dollars into the economy. It allowed our young people access to affordable technology, and hence the M-Pesa and all the other discoveries that we've had. And so basically also for us, to a certain extent, even given the digital divide, it leveled just a bit of the playing field.
How would you describe?
And so that experience,
yeah, go on.
That political experience that I had as foreign minister, where I actually witnessed firsthand the impact that trade would have on ordinary people, including women and the youth. The transformational and the force that trade actually has to change livelihoods, to improve livelihoods. I think that in many ways convinced me that multilateral trade in general, was a force for good. And it was something that we should all work to achieve, but also a system, a rules-based system, which existed and which had to be protected, because it's the rules that leveled the playing field for farmers and entrepreneurs from the developing and least developed world.
And so now, Ambassador Mohamed, should you then get this post, you will be occupying the seat of Director-General Roberto Azevedo. How would you describe his term?
Oh, I enjoyed working with DG Azevedo. I think he's an exceptional leader. And especially during the Nairobi Ministerial Conference, he supported the outcome that we had. And we worked very, very closely together. And what I would really like to wish him is an exciting next phase of his amazing life's journey. So Roberto, if you're hearing or listening to this, I truly wish you all the best.
So these changes at the World Trade Organization come at a very crucial time for Africa. It is gearing up to implement the Free Continental Trade Area in January. We've got 3 candidates, you alongside a candidate in Egypt and Nigeria, the entire continent looking up to you. What does your win mean for the continent and for this integration?
Well, the CFTA should help integrate our countries into the multilateral trading system, facilitate deeper integration in impact. Africa's share in world trade today is less than 3%, which is lower than a number of developing countries' share of trade. And not just one, but several developing countries have a bigger share of world trade than the whole continent of Africa has. So apart from increasing intra-Africa trade, which is currently at 15% and should be much higher, others are at 50 and 60 and 70%. And so we should actually increase this intra-Africa trade. It would also provide significant opportunities for the rest of the world. I was looking at a World Bank study that was completed recently, which indicated that the CFTA would actually inject about $450 billion into African economies over a certain period of time. In fact, by 2035, it would inject that amount of money. But it would also inject a lot of money into the economies of countries around the world. And the figure that the World Bank has given is 76 billion, which I think is actually an understatement. I think it will inject much more than that into the world economy. If one could just imagine the whole continent opened up as a free trade area, all the barriers down, I think that would mean a lot for multilateral trade as well. It will complement everything that the WTO itself is actually trying to achieve. So I think that if I was selected to be DG, what I would do is work with the Secretariat, offer the capacity building, technical assistance they need to bring them up to par with other secretariats of other regional trade organizations, so that they can use it to inspire a continental trade, to encourage the bringing down of barriers, to build capacity across the continent. And I would look at having an MOU with the Secretariat just to make sure that support can be sustained over a long period of time. We would want it to discharge its functions effectively and efficiently and promote integration among African countries. I think a vibrant Africa, that picture of a vibrant Africa would provide a boost to the global economy, and it would also provide opportunities for all countries. And so that really should be the goal of anyone who is selected to be the Director General of the WTO. If you really want to support multilateral trade, if you want to make sure that the rules of the multilateral trading system are embraced, across regions and in the whole world, then you would have to support the CFTA.
Well, and I guess, Ambassador Mohamed, this conversation wouldn't be complete without me asking you the one question that I guess everybody the world over is talking about the tensions between the US and China. How do you plan to resolve those tensions, considering the impact this is having on global trade?
Well, a DG doesn't have many powers, but a DG can be an honest broker. And a DG has the power of convening members to meetings, convening members to roundtables for dialogue, for discussions, to encourage, movement in a certain direction. And so that power is to help convene, it's to engage, it's to persuade, and to seek convergence on issues of concern. I think I would remind all members, especially the bigger members of the WTO, that they need to be sensitive to the aspirations of the least developed countries, especially, and developing countries like mine in general. Those that want to use the rules-based multilateral trading system to achieve sustainable economic growth, and that look to these countries' economies being stable so that they can have access into their markets. And I think that it's a recognition of how important these countries are, that their policies are reviewed every 2 years, as opposed to 8 years for LDCs, for instance, 4 years for others, and 6 for many other countries. But theirs are reviewed every 2 years to just make sure that there are markets that absorb most of the products that other countries produce are kept open, and that commitments that are undertaken are actually kept. So I would be an honest broker. I would look at what raises concerns and raises tensions. And in most cases, you'll find that at the WTO, it is a result of weak rules that need to be strengthened, or the absence of rules, and therefore the need to negotiate. And so reigniting multilateral negotiations around rules, I think, would be an important step for any Director General to take. Because then you'd be addressing the discrepancy, I think, between the rules and developments in the international space. And so that's what I would encourage. I would encourage the restarting of multilateral negotiations. We have the fisheries negotiations ongoing now, but that is too little. We need to engage in many other fronts. We have the plurilaterals, which are not broad enough, but which hopefully, after conclusion, will make their benefits available to all countries on an MFN basis. So basically, the idea would be strengthen rules and start negotiating new rules so that you upgrade the rule book. And I think that if there are trade disputes, if there are trade tensions, they can be addressed within the WTO framework.
Ambassador Mohamed, thank you for your time tonight. Ambassador Amina Mohamed speaking to us.